She is the. All right. So tonight we have joining us Molly Burns-Hansen. She's the program coordinator at Move Minnesota, and that's the transportation management organization for the city of St. Paul. And today she's going to cover some of the many ways that her organization supports our community by promoting new modes of transportation that protect the environment and counter the effects of climate change. She'll also review programs available for employers, small businesses, new developments, residents of multi-unit buildings, and our Como Park neighbors. How'd I do, Molly? Because you wrote most of that. Thank you for doing that. I'll just turn it over to you now if you want to. You can share your screen whenever you'd like to.
Fantastic. Let me know when you can see my screen.
We can see it.
Awesome. I think like Abby said, there's a little bit of difficulty with hearing the mic. So just if you want me to stop, answer a question, just holler and hopefully it's audible. Just putting this in slideshow mode. So yes, like I said, I'm Molly Burns-Hansen. I'm the programs coordinator for Move Minnesota. Thank you for having me here today, Como Park. Very excited to talk about the programs that Move Minnesota is able to help implement in your area. So I'm going to go over what our work is as an organization, who we work with, opportunities to work together, and any next steps we can take. So Move Minnesota is the transportation management organization for the city of St. Paul. That means we are your transportation resource for any way to get around that's not by a car on your own, right? We're both an education organization and an advocacy organization. You may know our name from, rallies or anything like that, but I'm here exclusively to talk about education regarding transportation and the environment. Move Minnesota's vision is to create a Minnesota where a transportation system breaks down barriers, protects our climate and environment, and creates access and choice for every person living in the state. My work involves helping community stakeholders like developers, property managers, neighbors, community organizations, y'all at the lovely District Council of Como Park provide cost-effective, sustainable transportation options to people in places that make St. Paul the magnificent city that it is. So as a transportation management organization, we work with employers, developers and property managers, and community members, community stakeholders. So if at any point, usually at the end of these presentations, I like to ask, are there any contacts that you think would be worth getting in touch with to implement programs? Great time for me to get a list at the end, but yeah, feel free if you think of any person to share that at the end. So our work with employers, we help implement the Metro Transit Metro Pass. This is an unlimited transit ride pass for $83 a month provided by employers. We also can help implement something called My Fare Card List. Since there's a lot of hybrid work happening now after lockdown, some employers prefer to get a pre-filled transit card to provide their staff. So there is a database called My Fare Card List. And they can say, I'm going to give each employee $20 of transit rides per month, and I'll just refill it each month. That's a way to do that. Another program we can help implement with employers is Guaranteed Ride Home, which is a fantastic program for Metro Transit that's been around a while, but not heavily understood. And it's essentially an emergency rideshare reimbursement. So let's say you work in downtown St. Paul, but you have a kid that goes to Como High School, and you gotta get home, I'm mixing up all my words, sorry. So for example, let's say you work in downtown St. Paul, your kid goes to Como Park High School, you gotta leave work to go pick up your kid, but you carpool with your office mate and they can't leave early. So you would take a Lyft, Uber, taxi to Como Park High School, get your kid and go home. And then you would send the receipt from the Lyft or Uber ride to Metro Transit's Guaranteed Ride Home program, and they would reimburse you. This is only applicable if you commute to your place of employment 3 times per week without being in a single occupancy vehicle. So that's busing, biking, walking, scootering, unicycling, rollerblading, any fun way that reduces your carbon footprint. Lastly, for employers, we can help implement bike programs. We do a 50-50 cost share for putting in bike parking. So that can be bike corrals, bike lockers, etc. So if there's, a small business in Como that has their own property and they want to implement bike parking, send them our way. We'll help make it happen. Next, our work with developers and property managers. We are the official TDM plan reviewer for new developments. TDM is Transportation Demand Management. TDM plans are plans that reduce car congestion and traffic when a new building is brought to the neighborhood. So they are required for buildings that have 25 or more units, or for buildings that I think are 25,000 square feet or more of non-commercial use space. So basically, this is a plan that these new buildings have that says, this is how we're going to make sure there's not a traffic jam for every hour of the day. So if you built a building and it's just tons of cars coming and going and creating congestion, it's just not happy for anyone. Next, my favorite program that we help implement for developers, property managers is the Residential Transit Pass. This is an unlimited ride transit pass. That's $14 per month per unit. So let's say there is a 25 unit building. Property managers can sign up for the Residential Transit Pass, and then instead of having 25 different families coming and going in the cars all the time, they can have them taking the A line, taking the 3, pretty reliable buses in the Como area. This is a way that they can meet their TDM plan goals and also just be more environmentally friendly by reducing car congestion. Lastly, we will also help developers and property managers know the best type of bike parking to have on their property and where to put it to incentivize people to use their bike instead of a car. Next, our work with residents and community members. We are able to help sign up residents for the Transit Assistance Program, also known as TAP. This is a program that reduces transit fare to $1 per ride at every hour of the day for anyone who is in need of financial assistance. Next, we make Choose How You Move guides, which are neighborhood-centric maps that show all all the different transit routes in a neighborhood, as well as different bike paths, bike lanes, protected bike lanes. We know there's a difference there. And also showing where Our Car has stations. Are y'all familiar with Our Car? A little bit? Okay. So for anyone not familiar, basically what it is it's community car sharing. So for about, I think some of the plans are like $6 a month, some are $13. You can use this car, you walk up to the little station, borrow the car to run your grocery errands, bring your groceries home, and then bring the car back. And you don't have to worry about anything. You don't have to pay for, car maintenance. It's great. We also partner for events like Bike Anywhere Day, Earth Day, World Car Free Day, which is in September. We will partner to provide information about how people can reduce their carbon footprint and talk about how car usage is the #1 contributor to climate change in the state of Minnesota and how we can all help fight climate change by changing our choices. So that is all my information for today. So if there are any upcoming events you think would be beneficial to communicate some of this information with neighbors, any property owners, employers, developers, any new properties coming where you think they can implement these programs, or just any general questions for me.
Great, Alex.
I have a question. Does your organization ever work with bus transit stations and just trying to reduce temperatures during extreme heat waves?
That is a great question. Excuse me. I want to make sure I heard that. Do we work with bus transit stations to try to reduce the temperature during heat waves?
Yes, at the bus stops.
Yeah, that is a great question. That is more on the advocacy side of our organization, because that is about changing the way the stations currently work. I will say that there are improvements coming from Metro Transit for stations and to make folks climate climate resiliency is becoming more and more of a concern, especially with like the increasing heat waves like we've been going through. So more work will be coming in that regard. I do not know details of it, but that is something Metro Transit's aware of.
So I have a question. I think one of the big issues that we see is getting for, and I call it an equity issue, though it's a poor person, whatever, call it poor person equity issue. Someone who might not have a car and they need to get either to school or some training place, or they need to get to a job. And they have difficulty doing that. And often one of the hardest things to do is to get from their place of, their home, wherever they're living, to work. And so what sort of things are you doing to help essentially, underprivileged people have access to their work more cost effectively and also efficiently?
Yeah, so in terms of transit efficiency, sorry, trying to go back. In terms of transit efficiency, that is on the advocacy side of working for more dedicated bus lanes so buses can move faster, more frequent times, training and hiring drivers. So that is on the advocacy side. In terms of the education side, like I mentioned, working with employers to implement unlimited ride transit passes for staff, as well as the TAP program, Transit Assistance Program, which reduces the cost of a standard bus fare to $1. Also, just working with, sorry, there's an odd beeping noise I'm hearing. I don't know where that's coming from, though. That might be on my end. But also working directly with community members to talk about what are the barriers to using transit and what is making it harder to be mobile in your neighborhood. A lot of what we talk about is mobility equity and mobility justice, which is ensuring that transit routes are going through areas where there is predominantly renters and lower income families, and also ensuring that people know that they can ride transit. Something that is under discussed is that owning a car in 2019, AAA found that the average cost of car ownership was $6,400 per year. That's before the pandemic, before we have this inflation on gas, all this jazz. So now AAA is saying it could be up to $10,000 a year that people are spending to own a car, to do car payments, gas, maintenance, all that. So something we do try to inform people of is when you go multimodal, which is the idea of using multiple different forms of transportation to get to one place, that helps save a lot of money. So for example, you can take your bike and put it on the bus. So you could bike from your house to the bus stop, put your bike on the bus, get off the bus close to your work, and then go to work. So helping people figure that out, we do bring a example bike rack, a practice bike rack to events so people can practice that. We also, are available to do like community bus rides to help people figure that out. Because it is a little confusing learning how to ride the bus if you haven't done it before, right? So that's what the work we're doing on the education side is. If you're interested more in where transit routes are going, how they're expanding, information about the free fare pilots that are rolling out for a few transit lines in St. Paul, I can put you in contact with our advocacy coordinator.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, that I really like the term mobility equity. I think that fits the situation. And I'm just offering this up, and I don't know if it's in play already, but on July 14th, we have our biggest event of the year. It's the ice cream social.
Oh, awesome.
And we usually have, and I don't want to speak out of term because I'm not the planner for this, but our neighborhood relations committee is planning the event, and we usually have tables and booths of neighborhood organizations. So I don't know if you're available on that day, but I can put you in touch, or Shevek or Mike can put you in touch with Jessica, our
Yeah.
PD organizer. Oh,
Got
there's
it.
there is the website, the email address. And you can, and Jessica, I'll put Jessica's name in the chat so you can contact her directly.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, it's events like that where we can directly talk to neighbors and residents and find out, if you're in a multi-unit building and you think the residential transit pass, going from, $120 a month of transit rides to $14 a month is a lot of savings.
Yeah.
We'd love to talk to people about that. Yeah.
So, how do you have to be income eligible for that dollar fare? Like, how do you assess that?
So Transit Assistance Program, it is run by Metro Transit. We can help people sign up and go through the process. It's for anyone receiving any sort of financial assistance. So if that's Minnesota Care, food stamps, EBT, free school lunch, any sort of program like that, if you just have a little piece of mail showing you get any sort of benefits in that regard, you're eligible.
Okay, yeah, so that's pretty easy.
Mhm.
Okay. And then we also have our next event after that is the Harvest Festival,
Oh, awesome.
which is in October
7th.
7th. And Jessica would be the same person to talk to. We tried to have events around different parts of the neighborhood, like we do 4 a year pretty much, so.
Yeah, that
4.
would be great.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Awesome.
have a question.
Yeah.
Is Move Minnesota, do you guys have a funding contract with the city of St. Paul, or just with the Met Council, or what is your connection with the city, I guess?
Did you ask what the connection is with the city?
Yeah, do you guys have a funding contract, or do you just have one with Met Council, or?
So we work directly with Met Council, as well as my work is funded by CMAQ, Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Programs from the Federal Transportation Authority. So there's federal, and then there's the local through Met Council. We do collaborate with the city, but we are not a specific division of the city of St. Paul.
Right. As do we. And my one other question is, you said on the residential transit pass, that's $14 per unit. Does that mean that if there's multiple people in a unit, the $14 covers however many people are in that unit?
Yes, that's a great question. Sorry, I was on the right slide. Wait, no, I wasn't. Shoot. There we go. Sorry. Trying to make sure I have the right slide up for what I talked about. So the residential transit pass, it is in a bit of a, for lack of a better term, beta stage. It got rolled out right before lockdown happened. So there is still flexibility in figuring out the best way to go about it for each property. Typically, it is $14 per pass per unit. So if a family is able to, if one unit is able to share a pass, for example, like maybe it's a parent and their high school student has a school transit pass, the parent can use it, use the residential transit pass, or more than one can be purchased per unit if desired.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And my understanding is that's not somebody who's renting an apartment can't just sign up for that directly. The building manager has to coordinate it for the whole building.
Yes, so the building manager does have to coordinate it for the whole building. We have found that when residents propose the program, there's more luck connecting to get it implemented than if I just randomly reach out. Because I've been, reaching out to people for about 18 months for this program, and it sounds like a sales pitch, right? So when residents say, hey, this is an amenity we'd love in our building, can we get it brought in? And they make a connection between me and the property manager. Usually that can have more success in getting the program implemented.
So who pays the $14? Is that a part of the rent or is it a benefit of living in the building or?
It is, oh, it is
Go
up to the property manager. Personally, I think having the property manager offer it as an amenity is great because I mean we have pools and gyms people don't use. There's now like dog grooming stations at apartment buildings, and not everyone has a dog, but everyone could use transit, right?
Yeah.
So we encourage that. It is something where it could be passed on to the tenants, but also when buildings are being constructed and developed, parking stalls are very expensive to create, right? So if they reduce the number of parking stalls they make, depending on what type of stall, they could cover residential transit pass for every unit for like 10 years for the same cost as one parking stall. So that's something we try to encourage with developers. I'm not sure if there's a land use committee for Como Park. Sometimes that information is helpful for them regarding the residential transit pass. Yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I feel like this it's a great program, but it would be most used probably by your newer builds and your more affluent apartment buildings, and like probably less likely to be like sell the property manager on the lower income ones, which is just an unfortunate
Yeah.
trend.
It does vary. There is a property, I believe, in South Minneapolis, run by Common Bond Communities. So it's affordable housing, low income housing that does provide residential transit paths. There are some more, boutique, for lack of a better term, apartment buildings that also implement it. I'm sorry, my cat decided to join the meeting. So it's actually kind of across the board. It depends on how they can figure out funding, if it's low income housing, if it's affordable housing. But for like less boutique properties, that is possible. I think it just kind of depends on how it's presented and how we connect and communicate about the program, because it does end up saving people a lot of money.
Yeah, totally. The newest apartment development in our neighborhood is the Holden House over on Snelling, right by the fairgrounds. I don't know if you've reached out to them, but because they're new and exciting, they tend to be very responsive to me as opposed to some of the other apartment buildings we try and connect with sometimes. So if you haven't connected with them, that I would recommend it.
And don't they have limited parking there or I don't know.
They absolutely do, yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Do you have a contact for the
Yeah.
Olden House? Okay, yeah.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, I will put my email in the chat, or I think my contact information might be in the agenda, but if you come up with more ideas or buildings to contact as time progresses past the end of this meeting, feel free to reach out. We're always doing contact. But yeah, the most successes happen when I am introduced to a property manager. Just again, so it doesn't sound like a sales pitch, but more like, hey, this is a neighborhood resource. Let's connect.
Yeah.
But there's a minimum number of units, is that correct? I thought you said?
Yeah, so there needs to be a minimum of 10 units signed onto the program. However, Metro Transit has said that, like I said, it's in the beta phase. So if let's say there's a landlord who has 5 duplexes throughout the neighborhood, if all the units are able to be on one contract, that can meet the requirement for the residential transit. So it's in this more flexible stage. It's not too strict on how you meet requirements.
I have a question. Do the tenants pay the landlord through their monthly payment of rent?
I think she said it was up to the landlords or the property manager. If they want to tack it on rent or include it as an amenity, it's up to them.
Yep.
Molly, in the Como district here, we're 40% renters and 60% homeowners. And do you have a map of the impact that your organization makes? Like the residential transit, it's in its beta, but what apartments have done it so far, and the bike rack and the car sharing? You've got a lot of things going on. I'm just curious how many things are going on in the Como area.
Yeah, so we are working to I've spent the past year connecting directly with district councils to be more neighborhood focused, which is a new thing. Most transportation management organizations just focus on a city as a whole. So we do not have a map of exactly where each program is happening. There are apartments participating in the residential transit paths is kind of spread out throughout the Twin Cities. In my experience, I will be about to get a building to sign up, and then a property owner from a company that's out of state will say, no dice, we're not doing that. So there is that trouble with that connection with a lot of apartment buildings. In terms of the car share, that is through Our Car. They do have a map of where they have stations. It's kind of started on the Minneapolis-St. Paul border, and it's just been spreading out. I think they're right now popping up more in North End. That's one of the neighborhoods they're really focusing on. If you are interested in more programs, interested in learning more about Our Car, I do have contacts there. They are doing a multifamily building car share pilot where they'll put a station at a low-income house or low-income multi-unit property. So more people are able to try it. In terms of bike racks, it kind of varies. Sometimes properties just want consultations on the best place to put a bike rack. Sometimes they're like, yeah, sign me up. I want a brand new one. Let's do this 50-50. We do have a list of those properties on our website. I think it's very heavily like small businesses and restaurants. I know Can Wonderland partnered with us. Trying to think off the top of my head what's near Como. I think a brewery or two that's kind of in the northeastern corner of St. Anthony Park. I think. I do not know off the top of my head, but yeah, that's the best I got off the top of my head.
That's fine. How long have you been around? Not you personally, but Move Minnesota.
So Move Minnesota was the merging of two organizations back in, I want to say 2018, 2017. It was the merging of St. Paul Smart Trips and Transit for Livable Communities. So as an organization, we brought together the TMO side, Transportation Management Organization, and then the advocacy side, so we can collaborate more to say, like, not just are we advocating for transit, but we're helping you learn how to take transit. So Transit for Livable Communities had been around since, I want to say, the 90s, early 90s. St. Paul Smart Trips is, I'm not sure how long it had been around, but transportation management organizations are a requirement for areas with high frequency transit routes. So they are throughout the country. So I'm not sure how long St. Paul Smart Trips had been around, but quite a while from my understanding.
And Dan, I know you have to leave soon. Do you have any other questions?
No, that's it.
Okay.
I just want to see if it's possible to get something out in the newsletter, Shevek. Would that work? Like if you have a little blurb, Molly, or anytime you have a little blurb you want to send through about a program.
Yeah.
Every morning at 10, every Friday morning at 10, our newsletter goes out.
Yeah, I would love to send something over. I have an infographic on the residential transit pass that kind of breaks down the benefits for, just all around benefits. And I'd be happy to send that over. I think a few neighborhoods in St. Paul have it in their newsletters every once in a while. So yeah, I'd be happy to send over a little list of our available services and programs, all free.
Great, that will be great. And Shevek just put his email address in the chat.
Fantastic.
And Molly, how many district councils have you presented to?
Oh, geez. Okay. I'm trying to think. The ones I have not gotten a hold of yet would be Summit Hill, North End, West 7th. Otherwise, it presented to everyone.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Oh, Frogtown as well. I was working with Frogtown community partners, but I've not worked with the district council quite yet. So yeah, 13 out of 17, I think, 14 out of 17. Approximately.
Aside from promoting your organization, is there any other things that we can do to support you?
You know, if you're interested in programs or work that's, you know, about advocating for more expansion of transit or bike lanes, bike paths, all that jazz, checking out our events page on the Move Minnesota website, so movemn.org/events. You can see opportunities to get more involved with our St. Paul volunteer team, we're working on the protected bike lanes on Summit. They're also, you know, we collaborate with different organizations to get more things going, like Sustain St. Paul, if you're familiar with them. It is, yeah, so that's kind of the best I got, is promoting and just making sure people know we are here to answer their questions. So I'm not here to sell anything. I'm just here to let people know if you have questions, concerns. Anything like that, just letting people know that we are here, because I think a lot of people know us as advocacy, but not necessarily as education.
Any other questions anyone would like to bring up? And if you do have some outside of this, or for people watching the video, they can contact you day or night, right, Molly? You called me at night.
Yeah, just send me an email at mollybh@movemn.org. I will put that in the chat here. And then my office number is let me make sure I don't missay this, because I just had to have my office number fixed up again. I'll put it in the group chat or the work chat.
And it's working, right? You got that going?
It is, yes. I don't know what that was, but it was just one day it was not working, but it's up to par again.
Well, it worked out fine, and I appreciate your flexibility and short-term notice to present to this committee. And if you want to reach out to Shevik or myself, feel free to do so.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, y'all. It was great to meet you. I'm just making sure I'm writing down all these emails in the chat before I leave the meeting.
And oh, I forgot to ask you, would you be okay sending us your slide that we can put on our website for people who prefer to look through the slides versus the presentation?
Yeah, most definitely. I will send over slides.
Thank you very much. And you are welcome to stay for the remainder of our meeting. No one ever takes me up on it, but at least I want to be invited. No, some people do. You're welcome to stay, but I don't expect you to, especially off hours right now.
Can we applause now?
Yeah, usually we don't clap, but we will.
Thank you.
Clapping and presentation.
It's soft though.
Thank
It
you.
sounds soft. You got a standing ovation, but we're sitting.